precedents for intelligent buildings, and you'll have to. There's no clicker, so
we can just.
will.
There's my click.
Yeah, there's your click. You want me to click for you, or
that's
would
it?
You like
we
to
got
do
one.
It? You got one.
Yeah, one slide, just like Paul.
All right, good. Then I did my job.
You've done your job. I appreciate it. And I really appreciate following Paul. One, we exchanged dad jokes a little bit earlier, and that was good. But also, the few examples I'm going to talk about is a little bit of how we're leveraging AI and ML in some very specific use cases in some of our customer sites. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about intelligent buildings, if for those of you who don't know us very well. We were founded just shy of 20 years ago by Rob, who's in the back, and his partner, Tom. And we were really founded in the beginning to help customers and real estate companies investigate their strategies and help them run technology better in their buildings. And most of the, and as we've done that, we've really focused on assessing buildings, trying to find out where are the problems, and then consulting or advising on those buildings, and lastly, providing services in those sites as well. And the most important thing that we want to do is, since it's getting very difficult to manage all the technologies, not just between the data systems that are getting put in buildings, the BAS, the lighting, every system under the sun. Go in a medical office building. Those of you who I think are in the medical office space, you've got dozens and dozens of technologies that you're asking your real estate teams to manage and integrate to, and possibly pull into technologies like Yardi and all those aspects. It gets very difficult to manage, and that's one of the real selling points of what we've been doing for the past 10 years. 20 years, but the past 10 years from a more proactive service perspective. One of the first use cases I wanted to show you and talk to you about is how we leveraged some AI and ML learning to look at pattern recognition in detecting traffic patterns inside an operational technology network, and we can detect zero-day threat actors on the wire. So as we've been doing that, I'll give you an example. We were anonymously, there was a building in the United States, and I mentioned it to our friend from Homeland Security over there. We found some Russian malware right as the activity in the Ukraine started, actually in a building in the U.S. on the BAS. We detected it, we cordoned it off, we captured a bunch of log files, we actually were able to delete it. I actually got a good snapshot of it and had some briefings with the FBI and our customer. There were some three-letter agencies in the buildings that were affected. The great news is and we can talk, and I'd love to talk to anybody who's willing to afterwards about how the technology works, but we build a very robust zero trust architecture around the OT networks in the building, which is really what prevented this malware from phoning home. And it couldn't phone home, it couldn't continue to generate through. So that AI and ML traffic monitoring, so we're able to take a snapshot of the network traffic, and we could detect the anomalous traffic and then start narrowing it down. So that was one of the great use case. The second AI and ML type use case that we developed was it's passive device identification in a building like the Willis Tower, or being from Chicago, we always called it the Sears Tower. In a building like this, especially since it's been redeveloped, there might be a really good picture of what's in here, especially since they're so on top of things here. But in a lot of real estate that changes hands fairly often, it's hard to get that snapshot, and it's hard to know what's in your buildings at any one time. So what we've done also using that AI and ML learning models is that we're able to passively listen to all of the traffic on the OT networks and start identifying that. I'll give you a quick example. Early on, we were able to identify an IoT device. We knew it was IoT because it wasn't quite talking like a regular network device. We knew it wasn't a computer because it didn't report out and look like Windows or anything like that. Now, with the tools that have been developed with us and our partners, we can now know that is, in this example specifically, it's a Johnson Control NAE, and we can sometimes even identify the firmware on that device. It's very useful in developing inventories of connected devices, which is critical if you want to get through updates, you want to get through patching, you want to make sure that those devices don't have vulnerabilities. And that same tool that we're using can actually identify the vulnerabilities that are linked back to that NAE or the Tritium piece of hardware or software. And the third aspect of what we're able to put in by cordoning off that network with that zero trust architecture is we can very easily detect network outages, connection problems. And on a dispersed portfolio, a lot of times it's hard to know, depending on how maybe sophisticated your networks are, your operations centers are, to know when networks are up and down. Through this software-defined process we have, we can see that immediately and we detect it. We have a 24/7 SOC knock that we're running, and we can inform local teams and even corporate teams that need to know if there's a critical outage for a major mission critical system. Those are really my three major elements that I wanted to cover. I knew we had limited time and we're a little behind schedule. I was going to give you a minute or so back. I'd love to talk to anybody afterwards or even now if you had any questions for me. But that's all the slides, so congratulations, right? Thank you.